What's up, everybody? Today on This and That, I'm going to be making a window display unit that's going to have different knickknacks in it. Now, this window display unit is going to go on a Western Street front, and so one of them is going to be a candy shop design, and one of them is going to go on a general store. So, thanks for following. I hope you enjoy the video. So the first thing that I'm going to do is make the tops and the bottom of the window display unit. I'm using cedar wood here. Cedar wood is really great for being outdoors, and it's really light wood. I'm trying to make it as light as possible because it's going to hang on the front of a building. I'm measuring 1 inch in and then making a mark all the way around the front and the sides, and that'll be the lip of the window unit. I'm going to do this on both the top and the bottom. This will help me also figure out how far in I need to go whenever I put the braces for the windows themselves in. The next thing I'm going to do is take a couple of pieces of whiteboard that are 4 feet long, and I'm going to use these as part of the back brace. I'm going to cut them, and I'm marking the spots where they're going to go so that way I can pre-drill the holes. We want to pre-drill everything that we do here so this wood doesn't split. The reason cedar is so light is because it's also pretty fragile too, and so if you don't pre-drill holes, it'll definitely split. I'm also putting kind of a pilot hole in so that way I can sink the screws, and so I'm just using my drill bit here because the cedar wood's real easy, and then when I put the screws in, it'll actually sink those so that way they won't be sticking up. Now that the holes are drilled, I'm going to take a screw, I'm going to put it halfway through, and then I'm going to take the back boards and I'm going to just kind of lay them in place and push them up against that screw so that way I'll get a hole in the bottom of the board and I'll know where to drill on that. This whiteboard will also crack if I don't pre-drill, so now that I know where my hole is, I can take my drill and pre-drill a pilot hole for these two. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out where the window panes are going to go on the top and the bottom panels, and then I'm going to go over to my table saw and I'm going to cut grooves on both sides of the panels and then split the wood in half so that I can get 2 panels out of each section of wood. Now what you want to do is kind of imagine how the braces are going to fit on the front of it, and then look at where the window panes are going to go. Some of the braces are going to have a groove on each side of the panes. These are going to go on the front, the very middle sections, so they'll have a piece of glass that'll go in between them. But if it's going to go in the corner, then you're going to have a groove on the side and on the bottom, so that way you can have a window pane go up and down on the side and then across the front. Unless you're going to do a door. Doors you'll do later. I'll show you how. Once I've cut all the grooves in, I'm going to go through and I'm going to mark where the cross braces are going to be. And so I laid it out and did the same thing where I divided it by 4. There's going to be some on a cross brace in the top, a cross brace in the bottom, and then 2 in the middle. And then I'm going to go in and on my bandsaw, I'm going to cut out little grooves where each of the cross braces are going to rest. And now I'm going to install the window panes on the front. I'm not going to do the doors yet. I'm laying the doors in place so I can kind of see them, but those I'll do at the end. I'm going to lay the boards where they're going to go, and then I'm going to trace the line around it so that way I can see where the grooves are, and then I can pre-drill through the bottom plate. And I'm going to use the same method I did on the back plates, where I stuck a screw halfway through and then pushed the board up against it so that way I can get a good mark on the pane and I know where to pre-drill my hole. Again, the most important part of this process is pre-drilling. You also want to make sure that you measure the distance between each window pane. Make sure that the top and the bottom of each section are the same distance. If you don't do this, then when you go to install the plexiglass, it's going to be a huge pain. You're actually going to take it apart and remeasure it. Now I've laid the cross braces across the top, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to use glue and my nail gun, and I'm going to just pop them into place. Now this display unit is going to be for a general store, which is going to have different knickknacks and stuff in it. But the other one, the smaller unit, is actually for a candy display. And so my wife is going to make a bunch of fake candy that can go in this display. And if you're interested to see how that process looks and some different ideas of what you can fill these displays with, you can check out some of her videos. I'm going to work on the door, and I'm not going to complete the door, and I'll show you why at the end. Right now I'm just going to put the cross beams on the door pane, so that way when I slide the plexiglass in, it'll actually be an easier process than what we did on the fronts. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the trim, and I'm going to put this on the bottom and screw in a piece of whiteboard all the way across the bottom. I'm going to inset it just a little bit so that way there's a lip hanging over the top. And then I'm going to come in with a piece of trim and go across the bottom to add a little bit of texture and uniqueness to the piece. So I just realized I cut the trim piece the wrong way, so I'm off to the store to get another piece. Now for the top, I'm going to go ahead and attach another piece of this whiteboard to the bottom of another sheet of cedar wood fence. And this is going to go all the way across the top, so I'll have a thicker top where we can draw some design, or you could write words on the top if you wanted to. We're going to do this all the way across. The top piece has the lip that hangs over, and then the side pieces, the lip is actually going to point inward, and we're going to put another piece of whiteboard all the way across the outside of the side pieces, so that way it creates a perfect lip all the way over. And then I'm going to take the same type of trim, and this time I'm going to go on the face of the top. And now I'm going to paint it. I'm going to be painting it black because that's going to be the trim on the building that we're going to be placing it on. I'm using my spray gun here to make it a lot easier to fill cracks and everything. Then I'm going to cut some sheets of plexiglass on my table saw and just pop them into place. This is where it's real important to make sure you measure the correct distance between the top and the bottom to make sure that they're actually equal. Otherwise your window is not going to fit in very well. And so you want to really measure those and make sure that they're accurate between your top panel and your bottom panel. Then once it's in, I'm going to caulk everything so that way no bugs or dirt get in the display unit. And then I'm going to move to fixing the doors. And I'm going to connect the bottom panel first, and then I'm just going to slide a piece of plexiglass in between them. Then I asked my wife to paint some designs on the front, and I had a really cool idea about how to make a straight line. Is that you place the pieces of tape between, and then you paint it the color that's beneath to fill in all the cracks, and then you come over the top with a white color, and whenever you peel off the tape, it should create a perfectly straight line.
So clean.
Now what I didn't think of was the fact that it is actually a fence picket, and so it's really rough, and so it wouldn't fill in the cracks when you did the white. But I promise you, on a nice piece of wood, it would actually make a straight line. And here is the finished product. We were really happy with the way they turned out. Two different sets of window units. The first one has smaller window panes, the second one's got wider. And if you want to see how we actually mounted these on the wall, then follow us, because we're going to show it in another episode where we redo the entire front of these two buildings. But for now, check out how they turned out.